Welcome, everyone, to Coffee with a Codex. My name is Dot Porter. I am a curator in the Schoenberg Institute for Manuscript Studies, which is in the Kislak Center for Special Collections, Rare Books and Manuscripts in the University of Pennsylvania Libraries. The Schoenberg Institute, or SIMS as we like to call it, is a research and development institute that looks at manuscript studies. We do a lot of digital work. We digitize all of our manuscripts, and we do projects with them, but we also have physical collections. And once a week, I like to go on the shelf and take a book, or sometimes one of my colleagues does, and just to show you what books look like, because we love to digitize our books, but they really look different when they're moving around. And so that's sort of what we try to do here. There's the record link again for those of you who are just coming in. So before we take a look at this, I just want to say this is a manuscript I have never looked at before today, and it is like the subject matter and everything about it is so completely out of my wheelhouse, I can't even tell you, but it's very cool. And so that's my caveat to let you know that, like, I am not an expert on this at all, but I think it's very interesting. I did just a little bit of research. Mostly what we're going to be doing today, though, is looking at pretty pictures. But we're going to try to be thinking about, like, what these pictures mean. So this book, it's shelf mark LJS 63, which means that it's from the collection of Lawrence Schoenberg, the person after whom the Schoenberg Institute is named. So it was a book that he collected, and he gifted it to the library, or it was given to the library after his death, which was a few years ago. So LJS 63, it is a 17th century, am I getting that right? Let me check the record. 18th century. 18th century, end of the 18th century into the early 19th century, right? So 1799-1804 is what it says in the record. It is from India. It is from the Deccan part of India. The language is Deccani Urdu, and it's written in what's called a Nastali script, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. The binding is a later binding. It's a 19th century binding. I love the binding. Green is my favorite color, so I like the color of it. I like the gold. It's really nice. When I open it up, we're going to see, oh no, my things moved around. All right, let's see. We're going to see it's got some really nice paper on the inside there, so that's pretty neat. And I'm opening it from right to left because it is written in this Nastaliq script, which is an Arabic script. So let's get there. I'm going to just go through. It's written on paper, a very nice paper. So here's our first opening of the manuscript. Nastaliq is a hanging script. So I'll zoom in a little bit just so you can see the text a little bit more. It's very pretty. It's the kind of the script that, like, Persian poetry is written in. So it's designed to be attractive, and it's called a hanging script because it almost looks like it's hanging off of something. So it's quite distinct from the Naskh script, which is sort of the most common Arabic script. So we open with this beautiful illuminated heading, and I haven't even told you what this book is about yet. Gosh, I should do that. Okay, so this is a musical treatise, or it's a treatise, I guess I should say, about music, about the Indian musical modes. And I had to look this up because I was trained in music in the West, and I know about Western modes, and Indian modes are a very different thing. The idea is it's almost like there's sets of rules around which the musicians improvise. So there are notes that you can use in each, they're called ragas. So each raga has, here are the notes you can use, and here is the emotion that you are trying to create through it. And it's connected both to sort of spirituality. So what the music is trying to do is take you to a higher plane, so it's tied into Hinduism in a way, again, that I don't really understand, but it seems really interesting. And it's also tied to the time of the year. So there are different ragas that you are supposed to use in the spring versus the winter versus the monsoon. So in India, there are six seasons. So there's, let me see if I get this right. There's, there's summer and fall, and then there's the monsoon season, and there's early winter, and the spring. And I got those out of order. The monsoon is before the summer, I think. But each of the seasons has a raga, has a set of ragas that is attached to it. And the ragas themselves are personified. So there's sort of, thank you. So Kadi is adding, the music is also tied to the time of the day, like morning ragas and so on. I'm not surprised by that. It seems like it's very much like, here's what you do at this particular time. And so the ragas have a sort of personification attached to them. And they're male, they're masculine, and they have wives. So we're going to be seeing a lot of what this is. A lot of it is, it's 36 miniatures illustrating all of these different ragas. So you've got the personifications, we're going to see different times of day, we're going to see different weather. So I'm really excited to see it. So this is not actually one of those. The beginning of the manuscript and the end of it has illustrations from the court. So this manuscript was, there was a patron who had it made. There is the person who wrote the text that's in the manuscript, and then there's the leader. So this is, and they're all, one of the nice things about this is that they're all identifiable because most of them have name. Anyone who's identifiable has had their name labeled, which means that that's all in the record, so then I can refer to that. So this very first one is Nizam Ali Khan Bahadur, who was the leader of this part of India at this time. And then it's Amir Azam Mutir al-Mulk. And I'm not actually sure who that is, but he's bowing. You know, you have the leader who's sitting and he's got a halo, and then he's bowing to him. All right, so this is what we're going to be looking at. So that was all my introduction. Now we're going to be looking at the art. So here we have another set of miniatures. So on this side, we have Raha Rao, who I believe is the patron who had the manuscript made. So he had himself drawn in it, and he is with a woman who is identified by name, but I'm not entirely sure who she is. Maybe she's his wife, I don't know. And then they have attendants around them, and we can see that some of their attendants have musical instruments. So we have someone here with an instrument and some kind of, I don't know what that is. And there's a little bird. So there's that. So we know right now there's music coming up. And then there's this over here, which I think is so impressive. We have elephants. They're not the only elephants. Malaki Bunch. The Mooncheek Beauty Courtesan. Okay, thank you, Jaj. I'm really glad you're here. So it was mentioned in the record that there was a courtesan, but I think the name is not the same as what was there. So that's great. All right. So then over here we have him again. Here he is. It's the same guy. He's here on an elephant, and they are going somewhere. Krishnal Khan is below. I think this is him because he's got a name label. This is the author of the text, not the scribe of the manuscript, but the author of the text that is the treatise that is presented here. And then we have soldiers, and we have a camel, and another elephant, and just a really fantastic, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. My phone likes to do that. I gotta keep it from doing that. Here we go. Come on. There we go. Okay. Here we are. And so here we have, again, this is another sort of court view. We have some different people, again, who are all identified, and they're sitting with musicians. And I want to point out, too, the way that the text is written across the page. So usually this is poetry. They don't, my understanding is that it's like separate poetic lines. I'm not entirely sure if this is what's happening, if someone can reassure me, but I don't think it's that it's separate columns of text that you would read down like this. Although usually when I've seen poetry, it's only in 2 columns and not in 4 columns. So maybe don't quote me on that. I do like the framing, though, of this. It's very neat. All right, and then it looks like we have, yes, Raja Rao Ravana again. I'm starting to recognize him. The artist has drawn him in a sort of a distinctive way. I recognize the shape of his nose and his mustache and his little halo. And here he is actually sitting with the author of the text. So they're actually sitting together here, creating this with the author. And I'm just checking the author's dates. Do I know his? I'm not sure I know his dates. I'm pretty sure that he was not alive at the time this manuscript was written. So what the artist is doing is sort of creating this space where these 2 people who would not have existed at the same time are yet able to be together in this manuscript that they both sort of had a part in creating. And I think that's very neat. So I think Kadi has some notes about the musical instruments here. So sitar with 2 protuberances, tambura with none. Or maybe that was the previous picture, because I don't think this is a sitar. This looks like a lute. There's, I think there's a place in a little bit where they are identified. So here, we have some tigers here. So again, we have our patron with some other people, and then the tiger. So I'm not sure what the tigers are doing, but I like that they're there. And then finally over here, we have a diagram of what the catalog identifies as a lute, and you can see that there are notes. These are all the finger positions and that. So that's very cool. Some real that. Oh, I believe Malakabai learned poetry from Kushal Khan as her teacher. Okay, so they would have known each other. And so maybe the timeline is not entirely clear to me. Okay, the tambura is a 4-stringed bass accompaniment to the sitar, in case it turns up again. So I'm saying this for people who tune into the video, because the text chat doesn't show up in the video. It's Jaj who is pointing out that that Malak Bai learned poetry from Kushal Khan, and Kadi pointing out the tambura. Okay, so we're actually going to be getting, I love these, but let's see if we can get to some of the raga photos. Okay, so here he is. I recognize him. I love that I can recognize him. There he is. There. Raja, and more birds, little birds in there, and there's a little garden. I love the imagery of these. So let's see. I think, nope, we're not quite there yet. Here is another miniature of Raja with the bird on the table and the cage. I'm guessing that the bird, as a singing animal, that's why we keep seeing birds, because of the relationship with music and that. So there's a couple more in the chat. Joyce says it looks like he has a halo. Yes, he has had this drawn on his head. That's one of the ways that I'm recognizing him, in addition to that he looks he looks the same in each one. That sort of helps bring him out. And Karen, it appears the text is written in more than one color. So there's a lot of red. There's red and black, and it looks like, I'm guessing that the red is a kind of header, and then the black is lines, but don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure. But yes, there's different color, and there's sort of lines drawn in red over some of the black text. So, okay, so this is Bhairav Raga as Siva. So this is our first raga here. A Siva wearing gold, sitting on a tiger skin. There's a very highly decorated horse over here and a tree, very nice. But that looks different, like clearly this is sort of not human in a way that these characters, these people are sort of human, and this person is drawn in a sort of a different style that makes me think this is not a regular human. And indeed, we have our first raga. Okay, Siva. Okay, then now we are getting into this, and so I think from here on out, every page is going to have 2 of these, and they're stylized in the sense that you've got, I think in each one, you're going to tend to see a masculine figure with one or more feminine figures with them. And this is representing the raga and the ragini, who are the wives. And can see too if the time of day is changing, if the weather is changing too. And we can just admire how really pretty they are. So, So there's the first one, and then this one is a little bit, it evokes a different kind of feeling. So now he's sitting on a swing with a woman next to him, and then they have the other women standing aside. And whether they are, let me see, woman suited on, so she's identified as a woman with 3 female attendants. So it's going to be hard for me to say when they're ragini and when they're just women attendants, because there will be attendants there with them. So here we have, let's see. So this is Todi Ragini with 4 gazelles. One of them is black with horns. So she's here by herself. You see if I can, there we go, see that a little bit better. And then here, and this is, it feels like we're out on a plain. There aren't flowers, but there are plants. And in contrast, we're in a garden. We have Gauri Ragini holding a lute, and she's got her attendant with her. So she's there with the instrument and her gold scarf. And it looks like maybe there's a storm coming, as opposed to, if we look back up to the top, we've got sort of a green. So it's a different sort of background. Braun, I love the transparency of some of the fabrics. I like that too, that you can really see. I mean, they're highly stylized, but also realistic in that kind of way. The fabrics in particular, as you say, are really nice. So let's see. Here we have Gunakali Ragini beside a white building with her female attendant. So there they are. And there's our white building. Now we have some fruit trees and I think a nice green hill in the background. And speaking of different times of the day, here we are at the nighttime, because I'm pretty sure, because now we've got the moon up there in the sky. So it's a nice clear night. We have Kanhavati Ragini, and she's smoking beneath the canopy with her attendants there. And a couple of musicians, it looks like. We've got our musicians over here. So we have, I don't know if that's a sitar or a lute, something with strings. And he has, Kadi, is this the instrument you were talking about earlier? I wasn't sure about that, but it's the same one that the person was holding in the earlier one. And again, these dresses are just beautiful. All right, this is a Mridigum, or Midragum. Okay, great. Yes, that is not, I believe, mentioned in that at all. They're calling them two dancers, and maybe there are dancers, but they're holding, or maybe the women are supposed to be dancers. All right. No, the women are dancers, and they are all holding instruments. That's what we're doing. All right. Now let's come over to this page. So maybe this is early morning. I'm not sure, but we have someone sort of reclining in the bed. Vilaval Regani, seated and gazing into a mirror. Oh, I see. There she is. So you see her in the mirror, and she's reclining. Looks very relaxing. And then down here, let's see. Lalit Regani seated with a what they call a blue-skinned crowned figure at her feet, and I would guess that is someone who could be identified, but they're not identified in the catalog. And then her attendant. And I love how there's this interaction between the text and the illustration. So the top of the building actually comes up into the text area here. And so there's only 3 lines here where there's 4 lines in the next ones. And this also has a fine sort of garden. There seems to be this distinction between some of them are sort of out in the, in the world, out in nature, and then here we are in the home. Let's see. So I already know we're not going to be able to finish all of this because it's already 12:26, but I'll go to 12:30, and then I encourage you all, invite you, implore you to go to the catalog record and look there. So this is very interesting. We actually have, it looks like they're wrestling. Let's see what the catalog says. This is Dasak Ragini with wrestlers, juggler, acrobat, and archer. So this is giving me very sort of physically active, we're being physically active here. So I'm kind of imagining what the music would be to sort of go along with this. I like this way of thinking about it. It's sort of holistic. And it's a really huge contrast with like Western music, which tends to be very scientific at least in the Middle Ages. So by this time, it's probably still very scientific, Europeans and their science. But I like this a lot. Okay, so who's this? This is Ramakali Ragini is seated, and she has her 2 attendants. And again, we have a bird cage. Here's another bird cage. I don't see the bird, but there's definitely one that is implied. And another garden scene, right? Another sort of household garden scene. Oh, we have another elephant here. So this is Deepak Raga riding an elephant with 4 female attendants. So we have a Raga now. So we've met the Ragini, who are the wives, and now we have Raga. And got that. Another tree. I love these trees. I would love to know if they're identifiable as, what kinds of trees there are. Oh, okay, and this is a fun one. Here we go. This is Sri Raga seated, so he's going to be there in the middle, with 3 female attendants, a musician playing a veena, and Kinara, heavenly musician with a horse's head. So that's Kinara. And I think, so here are the attendants, and then this is going to be the musician playing a veena. And we have seen, there was another illustration a little earlier that had the same instrument there. So that's neat. And I love on both of these, the sort of golden, I don't know if that's supposed to be the sky or if it's a sort of distant hill, but I love that a lot. Okay, and it is 12:30, so I am going to have to say goodbye, but this was really fun. For me, this was really different. Thank you for your patience. Thank you, Jaj and Kadi in particular, for helping out. You can pull me over the coals later for my mistakes. But for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, if you have anything to contribute, please put them in the comments. So thank you so much, and I hope that I will see you again on Coffee with the Codex in the future. Bye-bye.